winter, mists rise from warm streams near Crystal River, Florida. It is in this subtropical habitat that ordinary as well as exotic wildlife may be seen. The great egret awaits a feeding opportunity. The anhinga, or snakebird, dries its feathers between feedings. American alligators seem to smile their greeting, and this is the only place in the U.S. where one can see the endangered West Indian manatee.
Crystal River is just a little strip town on a highway in Florida called Highway 19, about 1.5 miles long, with little plazas, a shopping center on either side. Some nice residential areas on the waters here. This is the headwaters.
The headwaters of Crystal River, as described by Captain Dan, are populated by a large number of manatees in the wintertime. The shallow area contains some food, provides areas for rest, and is warm because of 72-degree water bubbling up from underground springs. Sometimes called the Florida manatee, these animals have a large oval body, flat round tail, and small head. Once thought to be mermaids by sea-weary sailors, it is fitting that the manatee belongs to the mammalian order Sirenia, a term derived from this nautical mythology. Because of large muscular lungs 3 feet long extending the length of the body, these animals are neutrally buoyant. As mammals, manatees have hair on their bodies, mammary glands, and breathe air. The closest modern relatives of the manatee are the elephants and the hyraxes. Structural evidence include elephant-like nails on flippers shown here and dense bones described by Ranger Ray Paget.
Scientists have learned from 40 million years of fossilized bones that the manatee and the elephant are related. Now what I have in my hand here is happens to be a rib of a manatee. As you see, it has no marrow and it's not hollow and it's real heavy. And this is an actual rib from the manatee that had died that we captured, and we kept it here for actual viewing for the public.
Although the average size of a manatee is 10 feet and 1,200 pounds, they are very agile in the water. Propelled by their large, flat tail, their fusiform bodies can glide gracefully through their watery habitat or swim in short bursts of up to 15 miles per hour. Manatees are herbivores, spending approximately 5 to 10 hours per day feeding. They eat from 4 to 9% of their body weight daily. The ventral location of the mouth is well adapted for feeding on bottom vegetation. Wildlife biologist Cameron Shaw describes the tooth adaptations of the manatee.
You notice there are teeth way back in the jawbone itself. And what happens in manatees, all manatees have are molars. They don't have any incisors, they don't have any canines. They're strictly vegetarians. You'll notice that their teeth are located well in the back of their jaw. As manatees feed and as they grind these teeth down, the old teeth actually fall out, and these teeth move forward to replace them.
In addition to the grinding molars, feeding is also facilitated by a hard palate and by flexible prehensile lips, which are strengthened by lateral horny pads. During the winter, manatees feed on freshwater vegetation, such as hydrilla, and in the summer eat seagrasses and occasionally an invertebrate from shallow coastal waters. Digestion is slow and assisted by bacterial action in the hindgut, resulting in the production of large amounts of gas. Essentially solitary, the manatee is described as mildly social. Individuals seen here are kissing or greeting each other with touch. Strong bonds are produced between cows and calves, but other relationships are more casual. Although sexually mature at 5 years old, females breed most successfully by 7 to 9 years of age. A female in estrus is pursued by a mating herd of bulls for 1 week to 1 month. A receptive female may copulate with more than one bull, resulting in the birth of an offspring 13 months later. Calving frequency occurs at 3 to 5 year intervals. Here we see Lorelei giving birth to Chester in an aquarium environment. At birth, manatees are about 4.5 feet long and weigh 70 pounds. The young remain with their mothers for about 2 years. A close bond exists between mother and calf, and this is maintained by frequent touching and high squeaking vocalizations. Here is a 2-year-old still nursing from his mother's mammary gland, just located behind the flipper. Manatees and their young also participate in seasonal migrations.
Manatees do throughout the state is in the summertime when the coastal water temperatures are warm, they're just kind of scattered up and down the coast. And then in the wintertime they concentrate in these warm water areas.
Although their large bodies reduce heat loss, their slow metabolism and thin layer of fat require that they move into warm water areas during winter to prevent becoming chilled and developing pneumonia. Florida is the northern limit for this tropical species. It is during the summer migration and living at the intercoastal waterway that manatees are most at risk. Florida's population is rapidly increasing, and with it, the number of powered boats. What would you say was the biggest threat to manatees?
It's still the powered boat. Our population, human population, you may say. We saw a couple of interesting slides a few years ago. One of them was put up there, and he says, now this is manatee deaths. And each little dot represents manatee death. You can see about 80% of them occur on the East Coast. And he flips up another slide and says, now this is the human population of Florida. As you see, about 80% of it's on the East Coast. And it's kind of clear.
Ironically, the powerboat danger described by Ranger Wayne Hartley has produced scars that have provided opportunities for researchers, as described by Kathy Beck of the Sirenia Project.
The photo ID catalog began as pictures that we took of animals at Crystal River, which is where it started. In the late 1960s, photos were initially collected of individuals that were recognizable by their distinct features. Primarily, these features are scars caused by an encounter with humans, and most of those are boat propeller scars, of course. And the ID catalog initially was just to look at site fidelity. Are some of these animals returning to the same place each winter? That these animals were returning to the same place year after year. We started looking at other sites throughout the state. This is all in the mid-1970s. And then more and more information was gathered. As we looked at these animals, photographed these animals at a certain area, we started to note reproductive status of the animals, behaviors of the animals, associations with other animals.
Wildlife biologists such as Joyce Kleen participate in statewide aerial surveys which document population numbers and habitat use necessary in establishing manatee sanctuaries.
So you can see where the sanctuary areas are located, and maybe even some areas that need to be sanctuaries.
More information regarding manatee behavior and migration is learned from tagging studies as described by biologist Brad Weigel.
We're in the last year of a 5-year project to put satellite transmitters on manatees using Tampa Bay as our central base. So we initiated this study in 1991 and have tagged 55 animals to this point, almost all of them with satellite tags. And we've found that animals that use Tampa Bay in the wintertime will migrate north and know where Crystal River is. They'll stop there, they'll go on up to the Swanee River. They'll also go south and utilize Charlotte Harbor, and a couple animals have even gone down to the Everglades.
Occasionally, animals require rescue and rehabilitation. Here at Blue Springs, a young manatee has a fragment of fishing net entangled around his flipper. Capture of this animal and removal of the fishing net requires the expertise of a veterinarian and a substantial staff from SeaWorld.
Okay, ready? 1, 2,
3. This animal required further treatment at SeaWorld's rehabilitation facility in Orlando. After full recovery, he will be released. Veterinarian Dr. Jesse White describes another strategy necessary to facilitate survival of the manatee.
The only weapon that we have in this fight to save the manatee is education. And by education, I hope that we can get to the people eventually. Because as far as I'm concerned, and working with these animals for almost 30 years, it looks like that extinction is almost inevitable. It's just a matter of when.
Education programs designed to inform the public about manatees are abundant in Florida. Viewing platforms such as this power facility near Tampa, aquarium exhibits, and refuges for manatees provide opportunities for the public to learn and care about this endangered species. Another dimension of education occurs at Crystal River, where people may snorkel with the manatee. It is during this closely regulated encounter that humans can appreciate the agile, curious, and friendly manatee. It is an unforgettable experience. Of the manatee is?
We're going to make it. We've seen our estimated minimum counts go up over the last few years, and while it could partially be that we're getting better at counting them, we think the population is probably slowly going up, and that's a result of public awareness, people really caring and taking care in the shallow water. It's also a result of enforcement of slow speed zones.
Appear to be increasing. Just a little bit, not enough to combat any sudden change for the worse. And all you can look at is, well, we're talking about 80% of the population on the East Coast. Well, they're doing everything they can to move people into the West Coast right now. So you can only look at an increase in mortality on the West Coast. So we got to do something. Now, we are doing some things that seem to help. But eventually our condition is going to get so much worse, just in simple population density, that you can't overcome them with the things that have worked already.
While extinction of the Florida manatee is a distinct possibility, the conservation of this animal, especially in Florida, poses an ideal challenge. The manatee in the U.S. does not present the international conflicts posed by whaling, does not conflict with fishing interests, is not used by indigenous people for subsistence, and is not dangerous. Manatees continue to capture the imagination of the public and represent a tourist attraction in Florida. Undaunted by the swirl of media attention or the watchful eyes of refuge managers and researchers, manatees continue to bask in the warm springs of Florida, oblivious of the threats that surround them. Will these gentle creatures continue in the shroud of morning aquatic mists, or will they become veiled by time as yet another extinct species?